Hello everyone, welcome to another video by Draco Hobby Center. Today we're going to be showcasing that Trafalgar Law deck. Trafalgar is really nice. He has the following ability. Once per turn you can do Dawn -3 and place up to one of your opponent characters with 3000 power or less at the bottom of its owner's library, and then play up to one character with a cost of 4 or less from your hand. So what we're going to see is a bunch of 4-cost characters that we can play that have 5000 power and have like a relevant ability that pressure your opponent, and also the idea is to go really wide with really big guys and start pressuring. And also we're going to see a bunch of characters that lower your opponent's power in his characters, so that we can send them to the bottom of the deck. Right now Law has a really nice matchup against Luffy, the black yellow Luffy, and against Sabo, because they suffer a lot when you send their characters to the bottom. They want them to go to the trash so that they can revive them later on, and when Law is sending them to the bottom, they're losing a lot of resources. So he's pretty good, and he also has a great matchup against a bunch of other decks. We're going to see which card help us in those matchups, but really recommended. He's been winning a bunch of tournaments in the US, also in Japan. So even when EV01 and OP07 come out, Law is still pretty relevant in the meta. So if you want to build it right now and understand how to play him and how to play against him, it's a great time to do that. So let's go ahead and start with the cards. We are playing 4 Gordons. Gordon is a 1-cost 2000, but he's really important because in your main you can place him in the bottom of your deck and give -3000 power to one of your opponent characters. So basically this means we can deal with any character that has 6000 power or more with our Law ability. So that deals with almost everything Luffy wants to be playing, Sabo wants to be playing, and most decks want to be playing. And you get rid of a bunch of blockers, a bunch of things that normally would give you a hard time. Gordon enables you to deal with it. And also Raise Max. Raise Max is exactly the same, 1-cost 2000 and has the same ability. So that means we have 8 cards that help us deal with anything with power 6000 or less. Next up, we have a really important card. It's Eustace Captain Kidd. I think he's amazing. He's a 5-cost, 6000 power. He has counter and he's a blocker. And then also once per turn, on your turn, when a Dawn is returned to your Dawn deck, you can return a Dawn deck active. So what this means is that we can, for example, attach Dawns to something, attack, then do Law's ability, and then this triggers and you get a Dawn back, so you can attach it again and attack for a bigger power. And also this means that we're not losing that many resources every time we do Dawn -3. That's also really important. We don't want to be dropping and being on 2 or 3 Dawns every single turn, and Kidd enables us to do our ability, and basically it only costs 2 and you get a Dawn back active. So he's an amazing card in this deck. He's basically the reason why this deck can be played, in my opinion. He's a really nice enabler. Next up we have Sachi and Pigwin. Basically really good enabler for our ability as well. It's a 4-cost 5000, so we can play him. This is the first character that we can play with Law's ability, and he's also a counter plus 2000, so he doubles up as an amazing counter. And then it says on play, if you have 3 or less Dawn cards on your field, you can add up to 2 Dawn cards rested. So this means in the early game, when we're mostly every time, because this deck maintains itself around 5-6 Dawns, and as soon as you do the -3 and Sachi and Penguin come in, you can get 2 Dawns back immediately, and then you can trigger other abilities, and basically what you do is that Law's ability ends up being free. So really nice. Next up we have 4 Beppos. He's a 4-cost as well, so we can play him with Law's ability. He's a 5000 power, and on play and when attacking, if your opponent has more Dawn cards than you, you can add up 1 Dawn card rested. So same thing, we play him with Law's ability, he comes in and we get a Dawn back, and if we have a Kidd, we get another Dawn back. So we basically are playing only 1 to get rid of an opponent's character and playing something from our hand. So that's really amazing. And then from then on, if Beppo survives, each time he attacks, he gives us a Dawn back, which is also really important to keep us in the game. Next up, Ain. Basically the same thing. When you play him, you get a rested Dawn. So it's something we want to be playing to pressure our opponent without paying that much for Law's ability. So same thing, we play him, get a Dawn back with Kidd, get a Dawn back with him, and we just got a 5000, only returning 1 Dawn. Next up, and this is also a really amazing card, also a little bit hard to get because it only comes in the Yuta deck, and it's the Law. Basically, he's a 4-cost 5,000. Again, that's what we need to be able to play him with Law's ability. And on play, you can give one of your opponent's character minus 2,000 power this turn. So this means we don't only depend on Gordon and Ray's max, we can also use Law to get rid of up to 5,000 power. But that's also pretty good to deal with other blockers and other big threats for the deck. Next up, we're playing the Shuraija. This card is amazing against so many matchups that is really, really worth including. Basically what he is a blocker that when he blocks or attacks, he gets the same power than your opponent's leader. So this is really, really good, for example, in Yamato. Yamato is always looking to hit you with her double attack ability. And she goes up to 10,000, 11,000. And what Shuraija does is you simply block it and then do a counter plus 1,000 and you're safe. So he really counters Yamato really hard, but he's also amazing against Sabo and against Luffy because they are normally in 7,000 power or in 9,000 power, really hard to hit them. And if you just attack them with Shuraija, you get a 9,000 immediately, and that really helps you to apply pressure. Also helps you defend. So if you're also like trying to block, and Luffy already has 2 attached plus 2,000, so he's at 9,000, and they attack you with a 7,000, you know you have a 9,000 power blocker ready to defend that. Next up, one of the best cards in purple right now, it's Reiju. You can play her with Law's ability. She's a 4-cost 5,000 with counter plus 1,000, and she's amazing. So basically what she says is on play, if the number of Dawn cards on your field is equal or less than the number of Dawns in your opponent's field, and you have 5 or less cards in your hand, you can draw 2 cards. So one of the problems with this Law deck is that you run out of cards really fast because you're playing them from your hand, you're using them for the abilities, etc., and you don't have that much draw. So Reiju becomes one of the most important cards. Like if you see this in your opening hand, I would keep it. This is like your go-to card in my opinion, along with Kid, and like those two are gonna help you get to the late game. And we are also playing 4 queens. Not all deck lists play queen, but I think it's really worth it for the same reason I just told you. Not only is he a really nice blocker, but also you do Dawn -1, so you can trigger Kid's ability and other abilities that trigger when you get Dawn -1, and he lets you draw 2 cards. And then you have to trash something, but as you can see, we have 12 cards that don't have a counter, so it's easy to brick, and Queen is going to help us not brick in those cases. So really nice card. Next up, we have 4 Sorrows. So we don't only have 12 cards that don't have counter, we have 16, and sometimes you don't want to have all the Sorrows in your hand, so it's also a really nice target to simply trash with Queen. Or if you're in a match where you have to apply a lot of pressure, you can play a Sorrow, attack, then do Law's ability, play another Sorrow, attack, and it becomes a game where you're really applying pressure on your opponent. That's what we play for. And next up, we have a couple of counters 2,000, but are also really worth looking at the abilities. Of course, 2 Otamas. She gives minus 2,000 power to one of your opponent's character, so that enables us to send to the bottom anything with 5,000 power or less. And then we have the Kamaso. He's a counter plus 2,000 mainly, but he can also be played with Law's ability. And it says on your turn, once per turn, if you return a Dawn to your Dawn deck, you can KO a character with cost 2 or less from your opponent. So this is also really nice in case we're playing, they're not that popular that much, but if you're playing a go white deck that plays a lot of 1-cost and 2-cost characters, you're basically getting a guaranteed KO every single turn with Kamaso. So not only a really nice 2K counter, but also a really nice card to have in certain matchups. So there you have it. Again, amazing deck, only gets better with time, and a really great contestant in the current meta. If you can build it, if you can get the cards, go ahead and do it. And if you can't, you also have to learn how to play against it. That's really important, especially if you're playing Luffy, if you're playing Sabo. Know the capabilities of the deck and work around it. You can beat it, but you have to know it really well. So thank you for watching. Remember to subscribe, comment, and like the video. See you in the next one.